She was my maid of honor.
She was my sweetheart.
She was my soulmate.
Oh, she was the WSM, Wicked Stepmother.
She was a great listener.
She was my vacation buddy.
She was a beautiful person.
Sue was spectacular.
And now that I think about it, she's kind of like James Brown. She was the hardest working person in show business. Now, jump back at you. I feel good. Like I knew that I should.
She was my best friend. Without a doubt, Sue Prosser was my best friend.
She was my best friend.
She was my best friend.
Our daughter, we loved her very much, and she was our best friend.
She was my best friend.
No, she was my best friend.
No, she was my best friend.
She was my best friend. I'm sorry to tell you all that she was my best friend.
Sue was born on December 29th, 1959. We lost our first child at the age of 2 months. He died of pneumonia. So when Sue was born, she was really pampered and adored, and not like I know all babies are, but she was extra special. She was looked after more probably than any other baby in the world. Every time she whimpered a little bit, she went to the doctor because we thought something was wrong with her. At one point when she was probably 2-3 months old, she cried so much that I was so worried about her. At that time, the doctors made house calls. I called the doctor, and her problem was a diaper rash. She was a very happy baby most of the time, and when her brother was born, she was very helpful. In always, when I needed a diaper or something, she would always go get it, and she'd always help me change him and be the gopher to get everything that I needed, and very, very willing to help with him and take care of him, and she loved to hold him and hold the bottle and feed him.
When we were kids, the first thing I would say about Sue is she was always loud. It brings back memories of over at Grandma Hauser's playing hide-and-go-seek tag, and every time you were close to her, we would lose because she was always so loud, and she was always laughing at Joe Stottenbeck because he was our person that was telling us if we could run or not, and everybody always knew where Sue was because she was so loud.
I wasn't here at the time. I think of this so often. Do you remember the time, Jack, when you were outside doing something with the lawnmower or the snowblower? And he would rub it?
I would be rubbing it, yeah. It was the lawnmower, and the garage door would go up. And I rub it again, and the garage door would go down. Here she was standing by the back door with a clicker. Every time I'd rub it, she'd press the clicker. And I think I even swore at her.
Some of my best memories with Sue in high school were our trips out to Rome. Susie had a whole group of friends that we called the Romans, and weekends would come and we would go out by Shirley Zem's and see Skip and hang out with Swinus and Shay, and we'd go down to the bowling alley. One memory that Sue would boast about of our times together, Sue was always the queen of Photoshop. We did a lot of floats in the Christmas parades, and there was a picture of me dressed up as a Christmas tree that ended up in the newspaper, and Sue did a reprint of that photograph, and she actually made that into a Christmas card, and then she actually mailed that Christmas card, without my knowledge, to all of my family members and some of my other friends. And I just remember her telling the story how she was upstairs addressing these Christmas cards, and Mike would hear her giggling and he'd holler upstairs what she was doing, and she'd address another card and start giggling, and it kept going on for a while.
Sue and we did go to high school together. We really didn't hang out that much in high school, but I started working at St. Claudius when I was 17, and Sue started, I believe, shortly after that, and we just became very good friends. Did just about everything together, shopping, walking, talking. We could talk on the phone for a couple hours during the day and still get together and be able to talk and, you know, carry on those same conversations. She was just delightful. She's wonderful. She's my daughter's godmother, and I'm Caitlin's godmother, so you can just see how close we were together. Susie was extraordinary. I've been through some crisis trauma in my life, and Susie was always the first person there, the first person to hug you, the first person to cry with you. She was just an extraordinary person.
We were so happy when she met Mike and they fell in love and got married, and we were very happy that they lived very close to us in the next block.
I first met Susie through my Aunt Shirley. Susie was in class with my nephews, and she thought that it would be a good idea if the two of us met. So she arranged for us to go to breakfast. Unfortunately, Susie was hungover from being out the night before, so the first breakfast meeting was an interesting one. But we soon found that we had a lot of things in common, and we started to date. The one thing that she had to realize early on was that I had two daughters from a previous marriage, Leah and Audrey, who were very young yet, and she welcomed them into the family with open arms. She treated them just like a mother would treat their own daughter. In fact, she probably was closer to them at times over certain things than even her father was.
When Sue married Mike, that's one thing, first thing she said to us before they even got engaged. When she told us about Mike, she said he had been married before and he's got two little girls, and that did not bother us at all. When they came down to visit, they were as much welcome here as Katie was, and they fit right in with us.
The first thing they said to us was, "Hi, Grandma, hi, Grandpa," which is very surprising because.
And we love them dearly, as much as we've never considered them just step grandchildren. They're always our grandchildren.
I remember coming down to Wisconsin for the summer, and I remember how I always felt like it was so much fun. Like we got the food that we never got at home, the treats and the snacks, but then we also like played games after supper and like you know, went to fun places like the Dells and, you know, even like the park and stuff like that. Yeah, like that. Big deal.
After dating, I got engaged and were married, and one of the things that we wanted to do in our marriage was to have 2 children. Shortly after we were married, she was pregnant. We went to Minnesota to attend a good friend's wedding, and she lost the baby. She was pregnant for maybe about a month. So it was pretty devastating to her. It wasn't long and she was pregnant again. And 9 months later, in October, came Katie. Along with that came the news that it was probably not a good idea for us to have a second child.
When their daughter Katie was born was one of the happiest days of our lives.
But what happened is that through American Cancer Society, we did 3 Relay for Lives, and I met this bubble of a person, and she was so vibrant and such a powerful, positive energy about her, and always laughing, always giggling. And by the 3rd one, people started asking, well, where does the money go? And that's when we, as volunteers, found out that the money didn't stay local. And in 1999, we formed the Officers for Tomorrow's Hope. What Sue brought to the organization was not only that energy, but that commitment to carry it through, do it right, do it the right way, but also the network of people that Sue brought with her. I don't think there's anybody out there that Sue Prosser didn't know.
I was already working at Franklin Middle School in Janesville, Wisconsin, and Sue got a job there. She worked a couple of doors down, and we got to know each other kind of gradually, but slowly. I always had an interest in mainstreaming kids into my classroom from the special needs department, the special ed department. And so we got to talking, and she began to send some of her kids down for a little bit. And eventually we realized that we both only lived about 5 miles apart, so it would probably be good for us to carpool because we went to the same building and we had the same schedules. So we started to carpool, and that's really when our friendship developed a little bit more. There's a lot of things you learn about somebody at 6:30 in the morning that you wouldn't normally know about them. And we had a lot of talks about a lot of things, and of course I was going through my own personal issues with substance abuse at the time, and Sue really helped and really never gave up on me, and because of that I think our friendship got stronger.
I met Sue straight out of my undergrad career, not really knowing what I wanted to do. Graduated, got a job at Franklin Middle School, and thought to myself, not really sure that's what I want to do. I never wanted to be a teacher, and a week into her room I realized that that was where I needed to be. She's one of the most caring and generous people I ever had the chance to work with.
I kind of met Sue at two different times in my life. I met her when I was actually in high school. She was my brother's teacher, and my brother had autism. He still has autism, I guess. But she was working with him at the middle school, and they got a really good bond, and he started liking school. He didn't hate getting up in the morning. And then fast forward, and I am ready for student teaching, and I needed a place to do part of my student teaching, and I went and I worked with Sue for that in her classroom, and it was really awesome. It was a lot of fun.
Well, we started having coffee on Thursdays, Tuesdays and Thursdays when Donna had off, when our kids were little. And then that just kind of moved into the St. John's, and then when our kids got older, graduation parties came up, and we decided to team up and help each other at graduation parties.
I remember leaving notes under her door, asking her to please tuck me in bed. That was her favorite thing to do, and I loved it also, and it made me really special. Seamus would say, Susie, can you please tuck me in bed too? And you should hear Susie laugh. It was hysterical. It was a tuck after laughing, and I have a movie of it too, so yeah, I think of her when I watch it. I also feel like she was also a mom to me too, in a way. A loving and caring mom, and keeping an eye on her sisters.
When Sue got sick and the idea came forth to have the fundraiser, we had just an amazing group of people from every section of Sue's life. We had the teachers, and we had the St. Coletta friends, and we had the high school friends, and we had the St. John's, the Lutheran friends, and we had the St. John's Baptist friends, and everyone came together and planned a pretty phenomenal event.
In 3 weeks.
Yeah, they did the auction stuff, and
Yep.
we just said, we'll plan chili for 500.
And that's what we did.
Yep.
Exactly.
We had a few bowls left.
And it was great because we had a central place. We had a chair in the center. Remember that comfy chair they brought in? And
Purple coach.
Yeah.
And so many people came. It was
Oh my
just-
gosh, it
and
was
she
packed.
She wasn't feeling well.
Quite a long line of people waited and visited with Sue one by one.
And she was beaming, and everyone was hugging her, and
it was,
and little did we know, it was almost like a live wake.
Yeah.
when we met Sue, it was almost like instantaneous. Guys, I've been here. I can help you. I know what you need. It was almost like she was in our minds.
I love you.
I love you.
And I'm a nut. And Josie loves you.
Josie loves you too.
And
what would you say to your godmother if you could see her? Can you think of one nice thing to say?
I hope you come back.
It was amazing to see how hard she worked, and more importantly, how meticulous she was in the process. And then, of course, everyone talks about, you know, when he finally peed on the toilet, she did the happy dance, and that was really cool. But I think that more important, it was the fact that she was willing to take the time and really dive in with him. And I always kind of use this expression about when you're trying to do something by yourself and you're trying to get someone else to jump in and help you with it, I always say, you got to get in the boat with them and live with them. Well, trust me, she got in the boat.
Well, I think Audrey and I both tend to sing things.
Yeah.
Everything. Gosh.
I can't hear, there's certain songs I can't hear now that I don't tear up, you know?
She was a fantastic teacher. She was my hope. She made it okay for Alex to come to school and just be Alex. I still miss her.
I like going to the park with her.
Yeah?
But I didn't want anyone to bury her.
I know.
I remember when you were sick once and she was helping you in the bathroom.
Yeah, I did.
She was stayed with you.
Yeah.
She was really nice.
Yeah.
She was just so willing to be there for us, and it was just amazing. I tell people what she did, and they just, you know, can't believe what someone would do for us like that. And I miss her terribly too. I think of her every day, and I wish that I could call her and tell her how amazing Tyler is doing.
And she was only a block away, but every morning, it seems like every morning, 6:30, she'd call here, make Sue, and make sure we were up. And well, she was on her way to school or on her way to work or something, but she always called us in the morning.
She did. She made sure we were okay.
She was always happy, you know, like she was always happy, and she always sang everything. And so I just remember, you know, coming down here, and it was, like you said, fun, and, you know, she always made it fun. She always tried to make it fun, you know.
Because she called me over to the house. Go ahead.
Well, I was with Sue that morning when she had been feeling good. The morning she died, April 18th. And I had gone over there was going to take her to Fort, and she was feeling so good sitting at the table and eating her pudding, and then she went up to take a shower and came back down, and the last words she said to me were, "Mom, will you get me a cold wet washcloth?" And I did, and I took it into her, and her head was back in the chair. And I just kept slapping her and told her to stay with me, and called the 911 and called Jack over, and he got there before the ambulance got there, and that's when he said to her,
I said, she said to me, she either said hi Dad or bye Dad. No, I don't know which one.
Well, for me, I think, you know, I was at work in town, and so Dad called me and left a voicemail because I was in court, and I got my voicemail, and I was like, okay, something's wrong, I know that, and I guess I just was really blindsided, as was everybody. Going down to the hospital was surreal. Seeing everybody at the emergency room, seeing her was surreal. It's all surreal. And then for me, the hardest part was going up to school to tell Katie, because she had no idea.
And I spoke with Sue somewhere around 7:30 in the morning, and she told me that she felt like $1 million. She ate that day, and she shit.
well, I was at work and living in South Dakota, and I just remember getting in the car at the end of the day. Nick had picked me up from work, and I got in the car, and I'm like, God, I got like 3 voicemails or 3 missed calls from Dad. God, that's weird, you know. He'll call, but you know, never 3 times. I mean, it's something must be going on, you know. And I kind of just thought in my head, like, it's really nothing. It's just, you know, I'm sure he's just wondering, you know, some random question, something that just was bugging him. And I remember calling him back, and literally he didn't say hi or anything. He just said, Susie's dead. And I'm like, what? And he said, Susie died this morning. And I'm like, it just, you know, to me the hardest part was being away, you know, and knowing that everybody in my family was suffering and hurting, and knowing that I couldn't be there to be there for them, you know. That was really hard for me. It's a bad day.
Never once during this time did she ever complain. She actually apologized to me for being that way. But miraculously, she made it through the 6 weeks. And 3 days after, when they told her she would start to feel better, and she did start to eat, she died.
I live it over every night.
And I guess one of the toughest things for me that I'll never forget was lying in bed with her, holding her hand, and her telling me that she was afraid to die. And I told her she didn't have to worry, that I would let it happen, but it did.
Picture an island, palm swaying in the breeze, ivory sands being caressed by an emerald green sea. Picture the mountains with snow-frosted peaks, lush fertile valleys with clear bubbling creeks. Picture the prairies with flowers adorned, the singing of songbirds awaiting the morn. Yes, all of this splendor our God did create, and He's promised much more lies beyond heaven's gate. For all of earth's beauty beheld by our eyes compares not with paradise. Picture the joy as a newborn first cries, the young child at Christmas, the sparkle in their eyes. Feel the warmth of true friends in your time of great need. See the Lord's healing power in each unselfish deed. View love's depth as a father gives his only son as the ransom, so that our salvation is won. He's gone ahead to prepare a place, and He waits for us there with His loving embrace, promising all of the joys we have known in our lives compare not with paradise. He's gone ahead to prepare a place, and he waits for us there with his loving embrace, promising all of the beauty beheld by our eyes compares not with paradise, compares not with paradise.